Okay, so hello everybody. I hope you're doing fine. I'm sharing the screen. Okay, and I'm giving you that link. The link is right here. That's our webinar. And I'm giving you that link. That is the only thing that you really need. So I'm giving that to you on the chat. And on the chat, I'm talking to everybody. This is your link. That should open for you. And I also allow you to attendees can all chat to everybody. So now you can talk to me, you can talk to everybody, and everybody can talk to you. And I see those little animals that show me that you did log in into this. Now let's go down here. That's what we are going to do today. And let us start. So what is this? What is our webinar for those people who are newcomers? We look at the news in the OpenAI and the Hugging Face land, and also we have an overarching goal. We want to use that as developers. That is not a chat for a reporter who in the morning chatted to ChatGPT and reports what happened. No, that is a practical, let's try whatever people say. The reporters, sorry, are right away excluded because they don't give links to test. So we're talking about developers, and I'll show you the latest, and I will show you yet one more attempt to make something practical, to take a model, maybe play with it, but most importantly, fine-tune it, make it smarter, make it work for a specific use case. And I will tell you right away that every time you look at what it really is, it turns out nothing is simple. Not everything works at all and doesn't work as promised. And I tell you exactly what I encountered when I tried to do this. So I guess I'm saving you the time to go on this road. So again, I welcome you to ask questions. Questions can be asked anytime when you chat. I once in a while see that, but I don't promise. So best of all, say something. Okay, let's look at what happened. And in the end, we'll try to fine tune BERT and fine tune BART, and I will show you how that looks. But the first link is right here, and we will look at that. And we'll also try to understand what are they saying. Because I noticed that this announcement are mostly people, marketing people shooting at each other. That is not for general public. So the general public then gets some reporter who asked probably. I'm sorry to denigrate reporters so much today, but they usually ask somebody to read it and understand what it means. And that is the link that I could give you, but instead you can look at the webinar run, and that's the first link there. So this is the Phil Schmidt on the side of Hugging Face, and I'll tell you why I mentioned him. And what they're saying is that they want to do a new generation of open accessible AI. Why is that? What is important? What are they really saying? They're really saying that ChatGPT is making waves. We know that, right? We know, let's look at it. What is it today? We'll look at trends, right? And we will look at OpenAI. Okay, and it shot up a few months ago. And let's compare that to Hugging Face. Okay, so not a very fair comparison, but you see, maybe it is going up a little bit about Hugging Face, because Why is that? Well, that is because OpenAI is, first of all, it's many servers, maybe 100,000 servers. So let us put it there. We have a little diagram that we're composing. We said who is who. Hugging Face is a company for developers, and OpenAI is for humanity. And the CEO of OpenAI said it's a bad product. Well, strange to say this about your own product, but what he meant is not that it doesn't talk to you. It does, but that as a scalable intelligence that talks to humanity, it lacks somewhat to be desired. What is that something? That is the servers, 100,000 servers all at once might have a problem. So sometimes you don't get to talk to it. And that's one problem. Another problem is that sometimes it refuses to talk to you. It has its own mind. So it says, I'm not going to talk to you today. Or like you started the conversation that I don't want to continue. The end result of this is that you can hardly put it into production. Let's say you're working on something, and I do have something I'm working on. Let me show what I'm working on. It's called Get Caseify. It is for defenders, public defenders. Now, in the United States, you have the right to be represented by a lawyer, and that lawyer is supplied to you by the government. So that's not that much money. As a result, these people who are supplied by the government for the poor homeless, let's say, of San Diego, but of course, that's a political statement, so take it out. So these people work on government supplied software, which is not so good. I'm now inside of that, but we built a software for them. You can find it right here. So it looks like this. And that's the real thing. So what I can show you probably is, let's look. Lawyers have to do discovery. They have to read the files. And sometimes these files in that case are cameras from police cameras, from their body cameras. Let me try to click here, okay? That's, it actually talks, but here it does the transcription. So that directly touches on what we're talking about, because now this one didn't do the transcription. So not clear why, but what I can say is I can click here and say transcribe. Yes. So it goes away and it converts WAV to MP4, and MP4 then is transcribed. So that's the story. Now, what they say about there, but the story that yesterday OpenAI announced Whisper, and Whisper is the one that talks to you and does the transcription. So immediately they say, what are you using for transcription? Well, I'm using AssemblyI. That's a very concentrated on the major goal startup. And I think that looks like, of course, they will say that they beat every other cloud, but it looks like they do beat every other cloud. I work with them, they're very nice, and no connection between me and them other than that. So that's what we use. And the boss says, okay, Mark, so what do we say about this? It's submitted. So if I refresh it, it will say I'm processing. Oh, haven't started. In any case, what do we have? What is our AI? So you see there that the future will belong to those who use the AI the best. I think you would agree with that. And that's a practical development that we're using this. And I immediately go and talk to Assembly AI. That's very nice. So I click here, you see this, right? And I say, I have this question, what do you think about the Whisper? I get an answer. These are very nice guys. They connect to me in the middle of the night and they say, well, sorry, that I don't know, but I know we're working on this, so you'll get an answer tomorrow. I do get an answer, and they're saying, oh yeah, we're very concerned, we're building it in, but major thing is that OpenAI is not ready for any use. That's what I was coming to. So we're looking here, and it's not reliable. You can't really use it. And that is what Hugging Face is addressing. That's how we should read the news. That's what it is telling us. Okay, I'm closing all of that. That was a detour, veering away. And that is what they were saying. They were saying between the lines that the OpenAI is nice and making lots of publicity, but it's not practically usable with all the 40 billion valuation. It has to be packaged somehow and given to you. And we are packaging. Now, Microsoft is packaging OpenAI into their Bing, and there's a Bing chat, I think, but they're saying, oh, we'll make it better. That is the essence of their conversation, and they explain how we do it and how you can then collaborate and scale in the cloud. That is the essence of this announcement. That's what I wanted to show you first. Well, that makes it even important to talk about what we talk. You would agree, because we want to make something very usable, very practical. And here is something that I picked out just because I agree with him. Let's put it this way. You know, it's this AI is everywhere. So the family discusses it all the time. Now, this guy, it's more of a reported thing. But what he says is that you cannot make a smart AI. And he thinks it's just not possible. Just as humans, humans are born by women, thanks to them, right? But can you build a baby to order so that it will be an extremely smart individual or very talented in some way? No, that is not possible. Now, of course, maybe engineering, genetic engineering, maybe will do it, but his theory is no. Okay, we understand that. Our goal is practical. We are not building a genius AI. We want to go and we want to look at, well, exactly how do I do it? How do I take a good model and how do I make them better? So I will tell you that it's right here, and that's what I try to implement, and I will show you how you try to implement it. Now, this is Hugging Face Transformers examples coming from Phil Schmidt. Phil Schmidt is a great guy in the sense that he lives in Germany. He's like 25, 26, 6 years old and very smart, an engineer at Hugging Face. And luckily enough, he is also very nice. So if you go to LinkedIn, I started asking him questions like about a year ago. And now I just continue with that conversation. So there he is. Okay, let's make it bigger. And before I was asking how do I integrate it into my products. Now I'm asking, well, exactly how do you fine tune? That's on top of what his blog says. So we're discussing this, and that's very nice. So what I'm telling you comes from the experts. But here is how he says it in January 23. And let's go and do it. Let's look at what he suggests and let's do it. And in his blog post, which is great by itself, you will gain a lot if you do this. It is about basically what are transformers, so that you either know or read or get from our previous sessions. What are examples of transformers and also what they can do. But briefly, transformers are neural networks of a specific kind that are better than all previous networks, arguably better. So that's why the world is using mostly transformer neural network, not recursive neural networks, not convolutional neural networks anymore, but they're using transformers because they give better performance having a different architecture. Okay, so after he says that is what you need to know, these are transformers, they work for you. He says, set up the development environment. Well, let us do that. As I promised, let us do this. I will do it like this. I will open the terminal. I'll make this terminal somewhat bigger, okay? And I will also log in into my powerful workstation because that is where I ran it all and I can show it to you. Now at this moment, I will see chat. Nobody asks any questions as yet. You can hear me okay, right? Let me ask that question.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great, because I was nervous that maybe I'm talking all this time and it's all in vain. Okay, so what I did is I opened his blog post. I logged in into my workstation. So let's go and say SSH mark at 10.0.0.53. And that's a workstation that's right next to me. I can see it. You don't have to. Okay, and I'm there. Now in this workstation, I'm going to do exactly what he says, and I'll show you what problems you get. And every time I promise something else. I hope that next time you will get this. I must do it. Next time you will see one of my real examples, something that I really like, but I'll show you how you prepare the data, how you do the training, and how it finally answers your questions. Okay. We will also mention at this point that fine-tuning is something that is advertised by ChatGPT, but it is very limited. Now, this Hugging Face tuning is much more open. You see the code, you see the data, so that's real. ChatGPT only allows you essentially to provide the background. When you talk to ChatGPT, maybe you already have done so, you can ask questions like, what should I call my favorite animal, that being, let's say, a snake? And it doesn't know, so it gives you generic. It's like similar to page advertisement. They don't know who comes to this page, but nevertheless, they show advertisement. But now let's do targeted advertisement, which means I'll tell you how I called my horse and my whale. And based on that, you know a bit about me. So when we say that OpenGPT allows you pre-training, this is only limited pre-training of that sort. Instead of every time telling you that is how I called my animals, and therefore that's my whole question, and now you will put that into the model. So you will not have to repeat those background information, but that is not complete tuning. It also doesn't allow a few things. So we're not talking about ChatGPT today, at least not deeply, but instead we're talking about how do you do this in Transformers example. So he says you need to install Torch. Now, in my case, I'll tell you what I did. First of all, there is such a thing as Python environment. So here in some base environment, I need to say conda, what I think it is, stop using this environment, but I forgot how to say it. If you can tell me, I will know, but if not, I will just look at my conda commands. There you are, conda deactivate. That's what I need to say. Conda deactivate. Okay. Now I need to say conda activate Hugging Face. Okay, and now I'm in another environment, which means it made a whole copy of Python with its libraries for that specific case. And now I will do pip install torch, but I'm guaranteed for that to work because I already installed torch. It just will check that the dependencies are there. Okay, so let's do install torch. And as I promised you, it guaranteed that they are there. Now, the next thing is that in this environment, what is my Python? So look at Python minus version. And discover that I'm using Python 3.10. Why is that important? Because even though here it said somewhere that use Python 3.8, but it didn't work on the 3.8. That is what I promised you to say, this works, this doesn't. So now I can install transformers. That's the library that I'm going to use. And now he's careful with the version. He says 4.25.1. That is the one that he tested with, but you cannot test everything. And obviously he didn't quite test it with 3.8. I think he didn't. And in case we installed most of the stuff, but let's look at that. We're cloning a certain library from Hugging Face. So in my case, I think I already cloned it. So I'll go into projects. That's where I store all my projects and elephant scale. Okay. And so instead of, well, I can say a clone because it will tell me you already did it. Yeah, it says already did it. So instead of cloning it right now, just go into this directory, check out that particular version because he knows that version works. That just shows you how much of an art it is and not simple tutorial on how to do things. So we say go into transformers. Here we are. And git check out this version. Let's do that. Okay. So now I'm at that particular version, and let's look at what he's going to do. Now, if I just continue copy pasting, that won't be that interesting. So I'm going to do some discussion also, and I will do the experiments only when it is needed. So first of all, he is going to use BERT for text classification. BERT is a well-known model. It is kind of absolutely everywhere because it started the whole revolution about 5 years ago. It was 2018. Therefore, it's everywhere. Let's go to Hugging Face. Let's log into Hugging Face. And let's look at models. Here are the models. So, okay, BERT is right here with very large numbers of popularity, 4.8 million. But by the way, what is the meaning of this 48 million? That is how many times it was downloaded. And I'm not sure if that's just in the last month. I think actually, yes, just in the last month. Why? Why such a large number? Simply because whenever we do any coding, the first thing that we do is download this model. Download this model from here. So 48 million people this month, if I'm right, downloaded the model and used it in their experiments. All right, that's BERT. You can find there are many other BERT-like models. How many? 11,000. Each model comes with its card. That is its description or model card. And by now that also is standard. So when, for example, Google releases a few models, which was one of the news, that also is documented with this card standard format. It also, if it is on Hugging Face, comes with the way to experiment. Okay, the goal of life is, and then on those answers, but that's not very interesting because it cached. How about the goal of that is? That's another interesting subject to investigate. Didn't get quite right, but an interesting revenge. That's, well, just one more thing to try. The goal of eating. No, I cannot believe it. Okay, that's better. So, by the way, you remember that if you take this dot away, it breaks. There you are. So that shows how fragile it is. I mean, fragile as far as syntax. We're used to type anything into Google, but don't do that with these models. Okay, so the goal eating is food, health, meat, learning. Okay, well, in any case, you can play with this model. That's what it does. And we were investigating this. We were talking about the models, and the goal of Phil Schmidt today is, and our goal as well, is to fine-tune BERT. So how exactly do we fine-tune it? Well, you give it the model name, which it will download. The first thing it will do, it will download from this Hugging Face repository. Then you also need additional things. It's right here. That's the standard Python way to look at additional requirements. Now, first of all, we'll look at these requirements before we install it. Let's look at these requirements. VI, right? Not much. It doesn't want much, so that should not be hard. And we can now try to install it. Let's do that. Let's really install it. And it installed no problem. Well, that's because I'm a 3.10, Python 3.10. I tried with 3.8. No, I got errors. Then it says, and that is how you fine tune it. So let's do this. I'll try to fine tune it, but I'll tell you right away. It worked for me with BART for summarization and didn't work with BERT for fine tuning, which again shows things are not so easy. Well, let's do this. Let's nevertheless fine tune it. I'm not sure if that's really copying, but I will copy it like this. Okay. So when things are already there for you, it's very easy, right? You can just copy paste, but then we'll look deeper. Okay. I know one problem is that this BERT is slash BERT test. That's not nice. We should put slash, let's say temp, something available, because it's going to write there and crash. Let's try to see if we can do that. Yes. Let's do that. Temp. Okay. So first of all, it shows that it's real. It begins to run. It begins to do real computation. At a certain point, we will hear my CPU working hard. I don't have a GPU, but it is a powerful CPU, and that will be pretty hard. So, you know, for fun, just for fun, I will open another window into that same computer. So that will be another window in that same computer. I'll put it a little bit to the right, down to the right. I will do the login. Okay, it doesn't remember. So I'll do this. I'll say SSH, then 0053. Okay, I'm there. Well, let's look at the A top. A top is the one that's telling you how hard it's working. As you can see, it's working pretty hard. This is smart software. It knows how to use parallelization. So I have 6 CPUs there, and all of them are loaded to 100%. Well, that gladdens my heart. Let's try a top to see if it is even installed. If it is, we might see a picture. No, so we will not bother about this. Now, we're lucky it works today. That's, hope. But we will probably not finish because the real thing really works hard. Instead, we will look at the script and see how it is constructed, what is really working there. Okay, let's do it. Here we are on this other computer, and let's see if it allows us to. I have to move it just a little bit up. I want to go in the right directory real quick. Sorry to make you wait. It's under transformers, Agnife. So probably let's look in transformers. Okay, so we're there. Now let's look at what is it that we're running. It's right here. So we're running the script. The script itself is on the examples PyTorch classification run glue. So that is exactly the script that we as developers want to see. So let's open that. That's the script that we're running, and the rest is just parameters that we provide to it. So let's look at that script. Here it is, open for us, no secrets. But now we're going to scroll down. First of all, we see it 600 lines. So things are not that easy. We're lucky that it works today, but there is no guarantee because it's a big bunch of code. The second question is, and I will go down. I think that's why we're all here, to look at the code. But how exactly it is working, that we need to know. So it turns out there are a few ways to fine-tune the library. It says that's fine-tuning the library model, but it doesn't tell you exactly what you do in fine-tuning. I can show you. Now, in order to show what you do in fine-tuning, you go to a neural network picture. No, it's a playground. That is a neural network, right? It's a very small network because the guys are using networks with billions of parameters, probably many, many layers. That's how you add layers. So let's make it look more realistic. And well, that's not that far from what is going on right now, except for the last one. This is where you say I'm blue or I'm orange. This is the network, the neural network that you download from them. This is going on right now here. And maybe I hope you can hear how hard it is working because it is now really melting my CPU. Okay, but we were right here explaining what is going on. So you see these numbers. These are the weights. That's exactly what OpenAI is talking about when they say, oh, we have billions of those weights. Well, they have billions of those numbers. And if I start training a little bit here, then those numbers will start changing until it becomes smart enough to tell the difference between yellow and orange. You see, it's converging. I think it's a wonderful display playground TensorFlow AI. That is not, at least in our session, so I'm putting it on the chat for you guys. That is what I'm playing with. And by the way, I have a question. Are you using, that's a great question. This is a 3-year-old MacBook, but it's a great question, and I can probably find out by doing this about this Mac, but I'm running on something else. I'm not running on this Mac. I'm running on a machine that right is next to me, and this machine is also maybe 2-3 years old, but it is provided with here with 6 CPUs. So I'll get out of this script to answer your question. I'm really running on that. We're looking at top, and it had, that's what I'm really running, and it is working hard, as you can see. So I know it's 6 CPU, which is really 12 when you add hyperthreading. So I think that's your question, right? So that's not the real serious machine in machine learning. And if I were, okay, thank you. And if I were to do any kind of real training, I would go to the cloud, because you can get all the real machines and power in there, started with a very powerful CPU, use it for as much as I need, and then shut it down. By the way, that reminds me that quantum computing with very powerful CPUs is coming. I'll talk about this Thursday, next week Thursday, and no, probably not yet. I will give an overview of what is real, what is not. And that reminds me that other machine costs $2 per second. So no, I'm not using $2 per second machine. I'll be using something like a max $1 per hour. It will run maybe for 2 hours. That's what I would do in practical life, because I'm not great at installing GPU, and even that wouldn't help. Now I see some more questions and answer. Okay, good. Well, it is running, but we're investigating something. We really want to know, what is this script and what is it that is running here? So I must thank Phil Schmidt, because today his script is working. And maybe it was this that I changed. Okay. So let's start looking. We're going down, you import the necessary packages, and the key is transformers. So you do that first. Then, well, it will be pretty hard to read without much understanding, but they will have lots of parsing of the parameters. The most essential is, where do they get the data? So that I showed you just to show that yes, it works, but it does take smarts and time and hardware. Then I showed you to show that, well, things are really moving. You see, it's at 8% training. But now let's go back. Let's go back here. We more or less understand what's going on. And let's finish this, but also let's look at the sample data and what it means. In short, I will tell you that you take the whole model. It seems like the right choice. You take the whole model, you freeze those coefficients. When we're talking about there are very many coefficients there, and it would be too much to train from the beginning. So what people practically do is they download the model. That's why you started with 48 million. We just increased that number by 1 when we downloaded and played with it. So while it's working, so one approach is just download the model and add a layer or two. This is what you're going to train. So you don't change the other coefficients. They're just there. They are for the neural network to calculate the propagation where it calculates the results and the back propagation where it changes them, but it only changes the new ones. You can understand how that is faster. The thing is that there are a few other approaches. Now, that one, freezing the neural network and adding just a layer or two, is the simplest. That is what was used in original work. Maybe they use it here. Be easy to understand. So while it's still working hard, let's look at what is going on, and also let's look at the data set. So this is fine-tuning BART, a different, I think, a Google also model for summarization. Summarization is very nice. I won't show you examples, but instead I will tell you that out of the box, it does miracles, just like people are amazed at ChatGPT, so I'm usually amazed at the summaries that are produced. So that's a juicy target. And that is an additional data set. Now, that's really the very interesting thing that I want you to see. Here it is. Okay. Now, that additional data set also comes from CNN, from Hugging Face, and there's CNN Daily Mail. But this lucky data set has everything summarized. So now we can compare the summarization produced by the untrained model, I mean untrained in our CNN Daily Mail things, and then the improved one. And that's what fine-tuning does. So I wonder if I find, if I can find anywhere the data set itself, because I remember I saw it. It looks like this. That's an ID, and I think it shows just one. If I can copy and paste it somewhere. It shows only one line, but there are enough thousands of this. It says, well, that's the stats on the data set itself. It seems like big numbers. Well, I wanted just to see what an example of one input line looks like. For that, I will, meanwhile, as you can see, this is a 10%. I will put it in here, and I will then open it. Why it doesn't want? Very, very strange. If I don't succeed on that, I open it in Word. But I did succeed, so I say open my example and show me what's in there. Okay, now we can see it better, and I think I can make it bigger. That's how you form this additional data. That is the article. That is the highlights. So it's pretty much like you would expect the article and the highlight or the summary, and you can give that data for the model to be trained in. Now, I think I achieved my goal. The goal was to talk about fine-tuning, what it is for, and giving examples. And in our case, it even worked. So you can go through the same example. We also discussed how you would do this. Now, this fine-tuning BERT works pretty much the same as this. And then you can evaluate the result. Are you more precise? Okay. The only question is, how do you use your own data? He even talks about this. Okay. So I promised you that next time I will use my own data on some fun examples, and we'll do that. So he says, thank you for reading, and I am saying thank you for listening and for being here. And I think I told you that next week there will be a regular Friday, but there will be one time only. To start with, it will be one time only quantum computing, which does sound like science fiction, totally. So in order to stimulate the interest, I'll go to YouTube. And one guy has created quite a few, almost disturbing with everything. Okay, one guy has created quite a few books for babies. So if you go and say neural network for babies, for example, that'll be fine, but you can do quantum computing for babies. And then somebody comes to quantum computing for babies, somebody comes to this and reads this book to you. Now, in order to hear a little bit, like 1 minute, I need to stop sharing. Okay, I need to share again. And this time I say share the sound so that you will hear the sound. And that's the book. So there is also neural networks for babies. Okay, and that's in the middle. Now I don't hear anything. I don't understand why. But in any case, he explains what quantum computing for babies, what neural networks for babies. So if you're confused by any subject, that is the very recommended thing that you can look at. Okay. And now I'll stop sharing for a while, and I will allow you to have questions. And the questions are anything that you want to ask. But also, what do you like to see next? Is that okay what we're doing? Okay, well, I'm trying to guess what you guys are thinking, and I guess it works because there will be something next Friday. So I wish you a very good weekend and a good week after that. And thank you for coming. You will get the recording and you will get the announcement for the next webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Martin, thank you for
your Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. It was very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Olga, thank you. That's a good question, John. The labs, if you're talking about a virtual machine, then that one is not, but the labs are all available. What I suggest is write to me directly. I'll try to provide exactly what you need and just kind of take it online offline, okay? You have my email, just in case, I'll put it in here. All the materials are available. If some repositories are closed, That is because I was cleaning things. So I'll just open them or give them to you. That's my email if you need to ask anything directly. Okay. But I keep everything open as it was open when we started. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for encouragement. How can OpenAI work with others? That's a good question. They only give you, Brian, what they give you. I mean, they're not open in this way. When they allow you to talk on Bing, that is closed integration, and then you talk to Bing. In other words, they are into products and Hugging Face into developers, and there's a big difference. So it's easy to find. You can look for OpenAI API, but that's a very limited API. Keep in mind, we went through that once, and I'm going to go more and more because, as you know, I'm planning to, well, I know I'm going to do it because of the work order has been signed. I'm going to teach API, Open API at one corporate client in April. So definitely there will be more material on Open API, and I will also repeat the Hugging Face and even the quantum computing. So it will be a nice, interesting April. But meanwhile, I really appreciate the chance to talk to you guys and like the question. Okay, so goodbye for now.